Welcome to TOBA Breakaway Rail Talk, where we talk to the TOBA Member of the Month. I'm Joe Bianca. I'm an ownership advisor at West Point Thoroughbreds.
Jonathan Green, General Manager of DJ Stable.
Let's start the show. This is the inaugural version of TOBA Breakaway Rail Talk. We are so proud and so honored to be sponsored and presented to you by the Thoroughbred Owners and Breeders Association, of which Jon is a member. Jon, tell us a little bit about the benefits and the excitement of being part of TOBA.
Well, first and foremost, Joe, I can't think of a better partner for Breakaway Rail Talk than TOBA. We launched Breakaway Rail Talk to spotlight and highlight people in the industry, the owners, the breeders, really the backbone of the industry. And that is exactly what TOBA's membership is built on. Each month, we're going to feature a TOBA Member of the Month, highlighting, why that person is being involved in the industry, what their interests are, and just, why they came into our beautiful business of horse breeding and racing. And the reason why I've been a member of TOBA for such a long time is because not only am I getting information about the industry, number of mares bred, all the information that's out there, statistically to talk about, what's going on in the business, but also through membership, you also get discounts on products and services through the TOBA Owners Concierge Sales Integrity Program. So go on their website, look to see. There's big ticket items like you get discounts on John Deere if you want to buy a tractor or something along those lines, all the way down to goods and services that we use on a regular basis and certainly during sales times. So I'm a proud member of TOBA, and I couldn't be happier that they are partnering up with us to continue on the beautiful show of Breakaway Rail Talk.
Yeah, we're thrilled. And just to note that the 40th anniversary, TOBA's been doing this for a long time, been the leader in this industry for a while now. And to wit, the 40th anniversary of the National Awards is coming up Saturday, September 6th at Fasig Tipton in Lexington. Sponsorship synergy. We love that. It's going to be hosted by FanDuel's Scott Hazelton, friend of the show. It's going to feature like a more informal feel in terms of it's blue jeans, it's boots, it's bling attire, it's open seating, dining, live bluegrass music, and a Kentucky bourbon experience. So What more could you ask for? That's going to be a blast. That's September 6th at Fasig Tipton. And Jon, before we get into it, our first interview for TOBA Breakaway Rail Talk was with Determined Studs, Matt Dorman. What was it like talking to Matt?
It was really great to speak to an entrepreneur who was successful in other businesses before they came into the horse industry. He's a lifelong racetracker, went to Bowie, went to a lot of the mid-Atlantic racetracks with his dad, fell in love with horse racing, and was determined, no pun intended, that when he made his big score in life, that he was going to go ahead and he was going to buy some brood mares and some racehorses and make a go of it in his home state of Maryland. And just had a really interesting conversation about what he looks for in brood mares. He made a big splash after selling his company for over $200 million and made a big splash, not only buying like $15 million worth of brood mares, but also goes behind the curtain a little bit, Joe, on what the criteria is of what he looks for. It's not just commercial ability, and also why he ended up buying a farm in Kentucky to house those horses. And just overall, it was really cool. It's a quick 15, 20-minute conversation, and I learned a lot. It was almost like a TED Talk in entrepreneurship.
Oh, can't wait. Here's more from Jon and Matt.
So welcome to the inaugural TOBA Breakaway Rail Talk, and we couldn't be more thrilled than to have Matt Dorman of Determined Stud and Determined Stables. Matt, congratulations on being the inaugural TOBA Member of the Month here on the Breakaway Rail Talk. Thanks for spending some time with me.
Thank you. It is an honor. I wasn't aware when I first got the call that it was the inaugural, and I'm guessing that means my fees are going to go up, but that's okay. TOBA does a great job. I'm supportive.
Your fees should go up, and also we'll do some headshots also, so that way for future other shows and everything like that, you'll be all set, because you can look back and say, this is what was the launching pad for my broadcasting career, right?
Sounds good.
Okay, Matt, let's just get right into it. In reading the article, it looks like that you're a serial entrepreneur. You've had a couple of businesses that have done really, really well, spanning from politics for a little while to a software company that you literally said that you started in your townhouse basement and subsequently sold at a $250 million valuation, and then did what a lot of serial entrepreneurs do, looked at the next challenge and said, the horse industry is the ultimate challenge, and I've always been interested in it. How did you get your feet wet, and what made you decide to come into the horse business?
So like many of the folks in horse racing, I started at the track with my father. My father was an elected official in Maryland, also an eye doctor, and he used to take me to Bowie and Pimlico and Laurel. And when I was older, one of my goals was to get involved with racing. And so that's really, where it started. I thought it would be a retirement, but I've failed miserably at retirement, but thoroughly enjoy the breeding and the racing.
Right. And you got in and you made a splash. If my research is correct, you went in and over the past couple of years, you've bought $13 to $15 million worth of broodmares, at public auction, and, recently even went overseas and bought some fillies, over at Tattersall sales. What's your game plan and what's your end goal with some of these purchases?
Sure. So when I sold the company in 2020, I had a business plan to get involved with the horses because of the way things are structured from a business point of view and a tax point of view. It made more sense to go in pretty heavy as opposed to slowly go in over a couple of years, which would be my advice to other people getting in. We were really focused on fillies. For me, it may be retirement, but it is a business. And so when I looked at the financials of it, fillies have residual value. You still have the racing and the upside there. But for me, fillies and also stallions provide return on investment. So it made sense to me.
Right. And were you looking primarily for fillies that were in foal to commercial stallions on early or late covers, or didn't matter? What was the kind of, take us through the next level of what you were looking for in some of these assets? Because they range from, $40,000 or $50,000 mare all the way up to a couple of mares you bought for seven figures.
Correct. So we kind of look at it in different divisions. There's the stallions, there's the runners, and then there's the mares. With the mares, we absolutely were looking for quality mares that had good pages, not great pages, but they had good pages, they had good family, and they were in foal to very commercial sires so that we could hit the ground running, no pun intended, which is interesting because the very first horse that we sold turned out to be Seismic Beauty.
Right. Who was a Maryland bred who sold for over $500,000 to a couple of partners in my racehorse, if I remember correctly.
Correct. Yeah, we sold that horse actually as a weanling, and then they pinhooked it and sold it to my racehorse.
Right, which is fantastic. And of the mare band that you have, are there certain mares that you were really excited about when you purchased them, or that you knew you had kind of at the top of the list and you were like, I'm going to get this one?
Well, Narsdale was one of them because of Medaglia d'Oro, and I love that line. But I was probably more excited. I felt bad for Samson and the fact they had to do the dispersal. But I get more focused on dispersals than I do pure commercial sales. And so any mare that's coming out of a dispersal, we'll look at probably a little tougher, a little harder, and we may value a little higher. And then as we develop the stallion portfolio, we also look for horses that match up to that now.
Right. And that's interesting because a lot of people, look at dispersals and they say, well, this group is getting out of the business for whatever reason, because because the patriarch passed away, or because financially it didn't make sense. So are you looking at it as these are distressed assets, or these are horses that are going to the ring without any kind of a reserve? Why specifically, for dispersals?
The latter, the concept of going in without a reserve, knowing that there's targets and understanding how the auction market works. But you don't have to wonder, are they culling their broodmare band and dropping the ones that are problematic? Because, when in the fall of 20 at that November sale, the ones that weren't part of a dispersal, we picked up some challenging mares, and We've got a very talented team. Scott Mallory runs the farm and the breeding. And Scott's great with mares. And I think I caused him a lot of heartache with a couple of the mares that we purchased, but we moved them along.
Right. And you just alluded to the fact that you have a farm now in Kentucky. Tell us about the excitement and the challenges of having a farm in horse country.
Very exciting. I credit my wife, Beth Ann, 100%. I was looking to build out a farm in Maryland, and went through the first breeding cycle. And I think this is important for breeders, whether you're small, medium, or large, and you're starting out. We looked at it in Maryland, went through the first breeding cycle, and realized how often we had to go to the clinic. Mm-hmm. And if you're a small breeder and you're buying a $50,000 or $100,000 mare, that mare is everything. And so you can't drive an hour and lose the mare. We bought horses that were a little bit more than 50 and 100 grand. And the thought of the 4 or 5 that had to go to the clinic, having to wait that long before getting care didn't work. And so we quickly said, this isn't going to work. And I was having coffee with my wife and we were talking and she's like, why don't you just buy a farm in Kentucky? And so that started it. And fortunately, we looked at several. I went down with my sister and we looked at several different farms and also had some help from John Sakura over at Hillendale, who's been a great advisor and colleague and business partner. And we looked at several different farms and we ended up at Sierra Farm. And they had done a very nice job building out a small to medium-sized farm. And so that worked out for us. It was horse ready, it was human ready. And now that we have it, very excited, do not get down there enough. Right. But as our boys grow up, we've got, plans to block out more time and be down there for more than just the sales. Right.
And you've mentioned just in a couple of answers, other family members, siblings, your 4 sons, your wife. Is this going to turn out to be a family affair that you think everyone's going to be involved and interested?
I think my sons, I've got 2 stepsons that are very into baseball right now, which is great. I have a 19-year-old and a 16-year-old, and they're figuring out what they want to do. And all 4 of them know if they want to come into the business, they need to go work in the business at a couple other entities. The worst thing they could do would be to work for me. And so if they learn the business and are interested, then there would be a spot. But I am working at staying healthy and getting healthier. So I'm hoping it'll be a 20 or 30 year run before I have to worry about that.
Right. No, excellent. And that was actually the best advice that my dad gave me was not to come into the family business. Work for somebody else first. Learn how they like to do things, the way that they go about, what strategies they implement, and then bring a skill set back to the family. And that was something that I always held very dear. It was not only because of the skill set, but then it's not just a nepotism job. It's not just a job that dad got me. Are those some of the same tenets that you're instilling in? I know your sons are a little bit younger, but in your teenage boys?
I think the biggest thing is that you have to love what you do. And some people love horses, some people don't. And that's fine. As long as they are fortunate enough to get a position or start a company where they love what they're doing, that's great.
Right. So let's transition over into the racing side of it, because you said that was your initial love, Bowie Racetrack and Pimlico and Laurel, and then you bought some mares, and subsequently you also partnered up with SF Racing, and you had a piece of Rodriguez, who won the Grade 2 Wood Memorial up here in our backyard. And then, of course, the champion 2-year-old Citizen Bull. Walk us through that process, how you got tapped on the shoulder to get involved with those. Were there others that you got involved with that partnership, or you're just really good at picking out good sons?
That's a good question. So I was very focused, as I said, on the mares and the breeding. And then looking at different stallions. And then we had bought some runners back in 20. We actually bought 8 Phillies and 1 Colt. The plan obviously was improve the page. And so the only horse that really improved their page was the Colt. He turned into Determined Kingdom, but he would not make a good broodmare. So we had a lot of fun. Phil Schoenthal is a really good Mid-Atlantic trainer. He did a great job with Determined Kingdom. Give him a lot of credit for that. But the mares have good pages. So now we have their offspring, but only a couple of them did a little better. So I kind of stepped back and slowed down on the purchases of the yearlings, and then realized with, the mares that we have, we are getting into stallions kind of at the retail level. And I wanted to see, is it possible to get in at the wholesale level? And so SF has a very good track record with their Colts program, and had become good friends with some of the folks over there. And then it was, they said, hey, would you want to come on board? And they had a very organized system. I think Tom Ryan does a really good job. They have a set program there with Donato and Bob Baffert picking out horses. And so to me, there were things that they had in their partnership that were really attractive. And the fact that it was a lot of people that were involved. So, Jack at Starlight, Saul, they're just, the business side of it made sense to me.
Right. And you still get the tax advantages and the interaction that the activity that you're looking for?
Correct.
Perfect.
Yep.
Yeah. Because a lot of people get into the business. I found a lot of people get into the business and they're looking at the excitement. They're looking at the big numbers on the register. They're looking at going to the auction and either buying or selling horses, hopefully for a lot of money. But it's really the tax driver. And you mentioned this before. That was so interesting to you as far as being in the business. Can you expand a little bit on why the tax side is important for you?
So at the time in 2020, when I sold a good chunk of my company, had a significant tax bill, which I'm fine paying taxes. I use roads. My kids go to school. I worked for Lockheed Martin. I benefited from the Defense Department. I'm good, but there's no reason to pay more than what you have to. And so with the 100% depreciation that was in place at the time, it made a lot of sense. I could either pay Uncle Sam or I could build out a broodmare band. So it made a lot of sense to me. And so it has since changed. It doesn't change the long-term effect, but you have to be in for the long term. But we'll see what comes out of the current bill and current chaos on the Hill, which I'm very happy I left behind and changed careers.
Absolutely. No, it was very fortuitous. As a native Marylander, what are you seeing as far as the Pimlico, track and Laurel schedules and the Preakness, and also what is your take on the way that things are scheduled right now between the Triple Crown races? So it's a great question. There are a couple of questions in there. The first one is my thoughts on Maryland racing, and the second really is the schedule with the Triple Crown. So Maryland racing, it used to be one of the big states. It's now kind of a mid-tier state. And with the guys at SF, with John at Hillendale, with Dave and Gordo, Mr. Farish at Lane's End, we often talk about we need to make sure that these mid-tier states continue. It can't be a Kentucky-only game. And so we foal out horses in Maryland. We're not foaling out all the mares like we used to, but we have kind of a carve out a certain number that we will continue. I think Westmore and the legislature has done a good job with the conversion from the for-profit enterprise to the state run. There are a lot of challenges with that, but they've got some bright people there with the Stadium Authority. And I think it gives Maryland racing a shot. Pimlico, was in dire need of repair. I remember back when Mr. DeFrancis owned Maryland, and he and my father were really close.
And, those were the good old days, but that's different now. You have legalized gambling across multiple media. You have a lot more, challenges for the entertainment dollar. And so something has to give, something has to change. So I think Maryland racing has got an exciting future. It's going to be interesting these next 2 to 3 years. It's unfortunate that Laurel will eventually go away because of its positioning close to the DC, Virginia market. And as a business person, marketing, I'm sales oriented. That's a big chunk. And, I'm not sure you'll get those same numbers with something that's all Pimlico.
Right. No, exactly. Matt, just one last question for you. And that is somebody new coming into the business, somebody just getting involved. What are some of the, key points that you would give them, or advice that you would give them? Because this business is unlike any other business.
So the first question is, are you doing this for fun? Are you doing this to make money and
Great
have
point.
fun?
Great point.
If you're just doing it to have fun, figure out what your budget is, stay in your budget, have fun. As many people have said, you never lost your voice cheering for a mutual fund. So when your horse is, turning for home and it's got a shot, it's a great feeling, and you can't beat that. If you're getting in it for a business, then you need to have more than a back of the napkin business plan. You need to have a good team, and the team you start with may not be the team you stay with. But the more people you talk to initially, the better off you're going to be. There are a lot of folks that have come into the business, and unfortunately, there's a small portion of our industry that's very focused on today's dollar, and they will go after these newbies, and it doesn't work out well, and then the people leave the industry. I was fortunate to build a good team, and we've since changed some of the players and stepped up a little bit, and now I think we're positioned. So I think we've done really well with what we knew at the time, and the next 5-10 years can be even better.
Right. Absolutely. Well, Matt, I can't thank you enough for spending a few minutes with us and explaining your background and also getting in deeper weeds as to why you've been successful. It's not just determination, although I know that has a lot to do with it. It's also business savvy and being surrounded by the right team. So thank you again for being a part of the TOBA Breakaway, and more continued success. I hope the next time we talk to you, you have 3 or 4 more Eclipse awards sitting behind you.
That'd be great. And if there are any TOBA folks that want to set up a call and bounce questions off me, I'd gladly help other people.
Well, thank you. We greatly appreciate that. Serial entrepreneur and successful race owner and breeder of Determined Stud, Matt Dorman, thanks again for your time.
Great. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thanks for watching Breakaway Rail Talk. For more information on TOBA and the Member of the Month and joining TOBA, go to TOBA.org.